The interesting thing that we sort of realized in this quest of trying to design stable-like token that was independent of a centralized fiat reference was that the hash that a miner produces can be thought of as a stable reference point because their cost of producing that hash is relatively fixed over some period of time. So we can use the miners and the consensus mechanism of proof of work to get this secondary property out, which is the value of a hash. And we can tokenize the value of the hash in Qi. And because the sort of input cost for miners is largely dominated by their energy cost, we can think of that token as having a value that's related to the cost of energy.
There is clearly the golden asteroid scenario. It certainly remains a possibility. Somebody manages to figure out a way to break what appears to be a computationally irreducible problem of inverting these hashes and so on. And then you have a different story. But if you make the very reasonable assumption, not just not physically possible, it's not mathematically possible, so to speak. And you then have questions like, if you suddenly can dunk all your computers in liquid helium or something and have them be able to run faster, better, whatever. But as you say, on a short time scale, none of that's going to happen. The kind of time scale for technological change, it's similar to what happens for other parts of the economic system, that there are things where the way work gets done, the way goods are produced, those change over the course of time as a result of changes in technology. But those changes are on multi-decade type timescales, not a timescale. And what all you need, I think, for your system is that things be stable on much more modest timescales.
For $1, right, which is probably the most quote-unquote stable fiat, right, expectations of changes in real purchasing power probably vary between 5 and 15% in any given 12-month period. So to make a competitor to that, you're trying to target the same rough stability as somewhere between 5 and 15%. So what we think we can do is use hash rate as a mechanism to generate a token, which should have those characteristics that are similar in change over the same period of time as the dollar.
I would agree. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, so the way that we do it's pretty interesting in the system, and you need both of the tokens to manage it, right? So Quai is set up as this sort of deflationary token, and the way that Quai is emitted is based off the log of hash rate or difficulty. Over time, you would expect sort of the emissions to look somewhat like a logistics function.
Okay, so Qi is basic proof of work where its difficulty is linked to the hash rate, basically.
The hash rate. So it's proportional to hash rate at sort of like a fixed number. And then Quai is the log of the diff. Now, I said proportional on Quai. We can dig into that proportionality in just a second. But what ends up happening if we make Qi sort of proportional to the difficulty is that is what causes it to sort of tie the value of Qi to the value of production. So what miners will end up doing is if the market price of Qi is above the sort of their production cost, they'll produce more Qi until the market price approaches their production cost.